What should fleets know about the drivers before insuring them, and why? You know, when it comes to insurance policies, obviously trucks are a big part of it and how much that costs to insure the fleet itself, but mainly drivers are the things that can change more often, right? Like they can uh, get violations and do bad things and cause your insurance premiums to fluctuate. So what should fleets be doing to help uh, hire the right drivers?
Yeah, that is a huge question because, like you said, there's the equipment itself, whether it's a pickup truck or a tractor trailer or a bus or whatever. Um, the cost of the equipment and the safety devices on the equipment, that's somewhat cut and dry. There are values that get attached to that. And then they determine what your risk is that you're going to damage or destroy one of those pieces of equipment and what is that going to cost, right? So the bigger piece is the driver component. That is the variable that causes the most risk. And that is what determines what the rest of it's going to cost, right? So um, I guess I would say one of the things I say a lot is I saw a meme once, and the meme was the most dangerous part of any piece of equipment is the nut holding the steering wheel, right? So
I mean,
as funny
yeah.
as it sounds, it's the truth, right? And so if I were in the position of a producer or a fleet, I would, number one, if you're the producer, make sure that the fleet completely understands what the acceptable and unacceptable driver criteria is, so that they can screen drivers when they're hiring them according to what that criteria is, because it's usually established by the insurance company based on their particular risk or their particular program, whatever it is. And then the second component is, make sure if there are any state or federal regulations that govern, whatever licensing you may have to hire to operate, make sure that you understand what that means from hiring a driver perspective, because you always want to make sure you cover that. And then make sure that you have process in place to ensure that anybody in your operation that may be screening a driver, it will tell them on whatever that criteria is, whether that driver qualifies or doesn't qualify based on the established criteria, right? Whether it's by the insurance company, whether it's by the state or federal government, whatever it is. So make sure that they're cleared up front, and make sure that you follow whatever process your insurance company has put in place to add those drivers to coverage. But even more important than that is I can't tell you how many times when we work with our partners in the insurance industry come to us and say, this driver cleared on day one. And when we went to renew 365 days later, the driver didn't clear and they had all of this activity throughout the course of the year that the fleet had no idea about. So if you're in a fleet's position, I would make sure that you find the right monitoring mechanisms, whatever they may be. It may be motor vehicle report monitoring, it may be criminal history report monitoring, it may be telematics, whatever. There's a whole bunch of things that you could implement. Make sure that you're monitoring the driver's behavior. Make sure that that behavior throughout the course of the year does not go outside the lines of whatever the acceptable criteria is. And if it does, then you need to take the appropriate action swiftly. But that's a huge component in what any insurance company, any program that I've heard of is going to be looking at is what are you doing to manage your drivers and what are you doing to manage the risk in whatever equipment they're driving. So that's a huge piece.
Well, I mentioned this in the other video too. It's about being proactive and not reactive here as well, right? So it does apply in all scenarios because if you're proactively monitoring these drivers, you're proactively coaching these drivers, whether it's through, you know, telematics or cameras as well, safety courses, all these different technologies that we have now in place. Um, you can you don't have to wait for something bad to happen. You find out they had a DUI when you run their MVR because they got in an accident, or you find out, whatever it is, you know about it in real time and you can, you know, coach them up or get them out in real time as well. So I think that's really huge. And I think technology is going to change the space. It's only a matter of time till everyone's using that stuff, I think. And it makes sense because it's the power of knowledge with less. You don't have to hire someone to run MVRs every month. It just automatically is monitoring, or even the AI cameras and the way they can coach in real time. I mean, you don't have to have someone sitting over the computer watching hours of footage when it tells the driver like, hey, you might want to pull over, you're yawning, or whatever the action is. um, so I think that that message of being proactive versus reactive is, when it comes to transportation and trucking, the industry as a whole, should really be the mantra here.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think the other takeaway that I would suggest here is for folks to remember that insurance is a contract, right? It's a contract from the insurer to the fleet saying that I will insure you if something were to go wrong based on the facts that I know at this rate and these coverage limits. And I think a lot of times people forget that insurance isn't just this nebulous thing out there floating around in space that will send you money if something goes wrong, right? It's a partnership, it's a relationship, it's a contract. No different than, if you go to buy a house, that's an agreement that you sign that says, you've looked at me, you see my credit history, and you're going to loan me X number of dollars for X number of years, and I have to pay you Y number of dollars every month on this date for that agreement. And I think the more that fleets think about their insurance as a contract and a partnership with whoever's written that contract for them, whoever the insurer is, then the more likely that they are to be proactive in managing drivers and risk, and understanding that this isn't the insurance people of space out there that are gonna pay the claim. These are real companies that believe in you and the fleet and the risk, and have agreed that if something goes wrong based on the circumstances they've been presented with, they'll pay the claim. So I think the more that people get that through their head, and understand that it's not just an insurance company, it's my business partner, I think the better off that they will be when it comes to thinking about being proactive and monitoring things, and doing all the things that they should do to be a good partner.